The strange prisoner Astra's commander Valrana had seen many humans before. She had fought them in battles, studied them in labs, and even watched them cry before execution. They were weak, loud, emotional creatures. But this one was different. She stood in the cold metal cell, alone. Her hands were chained, her clothes torn, her face dirty. But she didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even look afraid. She just stood there, smiling. Valrana watched her through the thick glass wall. Why is she smiling? She asked her assistant, a nervous alien named Tech. Tech looked at the screen, then back at his commander. I don't know, ma'am. Maybe she's lost her mind. No, Valrana whispered. This is not madness. This is something else. The human's name was Eva. She was found alone on a ruined space station. No oxygen, no food, no working systems. But she survived. When the soldiers opened the airlock, she was just sitting there, waiting. They brought her here. To the warship Kauthron. She didn't fight, didn't resist. She just said one thing. I've been waiting for you. That was 2 days ago. Since then, she hadn't spoken a word. Not to the guards, not to the doctors, not to the machines. Just silent sand, that smile. Valrana entered the observation room. She tapped the glass hard. Eva looked up and locked eyes with her. Those eyes were calm, too calm, as if she was the one in control. Valrana pressed the intercom button. Who are you? She asked. What are you? Eva didn't answer. She just tilted her head slightly, still smiling. Then she whispered, just loud enough to be heard. You're not ready. The lights in the room flickered. Tech jumped back, eyes wide. It's happening again, he said. The power drain, just like yesterday. Valrana turned to him. Did she do that? We don't know, ma'am. But every time someone talks to her, systems fail, sensors crash, power drops. It's like she's feeding off the ship. Valrana stared at Eva. No tools, no implants, no tech, but still. Things around her broke down. She wasn't touching anything, just standing there, smiling. Valrana ordered a full scan. Medical drones entered the cell, scanning her body, her brain. Her energy levels, everything was normal, too normal. No signs of stress, fear, hunger, or pain. It was impossible. She's not human, one of the scientists said, or at least, not just human. Valrana sat in her command chair, watching the screen. She had fought many enemies in her life, but this one, this silent, smiling human made her feel something new. Fear. Eva moved suddenly, looking straight at the camera. She raised her hand slowly, her index finger pointed forward. Right at Valrana. A second later, all screens went black. The ship trembled for 3 seconds, then returned to normal. But Eva was still pointing, still smiling. Valrana stood up, fists clenched. This is a game to her, she said. She wants us to react. Should we sedate her? Tech asked. Valrana shook her head. No, not yet. I want to know what she wants. Later that night, a guard reported something strange. He said Eva was talking in her sleep, but not in human language. She was speaking Keltari, the secret language of the High Command. No human could possibly know it. Valrana listened to the recording. Eva was repeating the same words over and over. She remembers. She remembers. The war was never over. The commander couldn't sleep. This human was dangerous, but not in the way weapons were dangerous. She was something else, something older, deeper, hidden. Valrana called a meeting with the science team. They pulled up data from ancient records, strange cases, rumors, myths. One image matched Eva's face, an old drawing from a destroyed world, a human girl standing among ruins, smiling. The note below read, "If she smiles, it's already too late." Valrana looked at the image, then at the live feed of Eva in her cell. Same face, same smile. How is this possible? She asked. No one had an answer as the lights flickered again. And the cold air of the ship grew heavier. Valrana knew one thing for sure. This prisoner was not just a threat. She was a message. But what was she trying to say? And why did it feel like the real war was only beginning? The scientists were ready. They thought they had seen everything. Aliens made of fire. Machines that could think. Even creatures from black holes. But none of them prepared for her, Eva. The human sat on the cold floor of her cell, still smiling, still silent, still watching. Valrana stood behind the glass with the research team. Begin the test, she ordered. The room filled with a soft hum as machines came to life. Thin silver drones floated toward the cell, each one equipped with scanners. Needles, lights, and tools. They circled her like insects, silent and sharp. Eva didn't move. Not when the scanners touched her skin. Not when the needles tried to. Take her blood, not even when the machines looked into her eyes. Then, one by one, the machines shut down. Their lights dimmed, their systems fried. They fell to the floor like broken toys. She didn't move, said one of the technicians, shocked. She didn't touch anything. Valrana narrowed her eyes. Try again. This time, they used stronger tools, protected by shielded systems. They brought in a mind prop, something never used on humans before. It could read thoughts, dreams, memories, even lies. The probe touched Eva's temple. The lights blinked green, blue, then red. It began to read her brain. Images flashed on the screens, fast and blurry. Planets, wars, fire, screaming faces, unknown galaxies, strange symbols. A city made of glass floating in the sky, a field of stars shaped like an eye. The probe shook violently. Smoke burst from its sides. Then it exploded. Silence filled the lab. No one spoke. Eva opened her eyes and said softly, "Don't look into places your kind can't survive." Valrana felt cold. She had fought monsters before. But this was different. This wasn't power. It was knowledge. Dangerous knowledge. That night, Valrana spoke privately with Dr. Kalin, the lead xenopsychologist. She didn't resist, didn't fight, but still destroyed the machines. Valrana said, "What does that mean?" Kalin looked tired. "I think she wanted us to test her," she said. "She allowed it, just to show us what she can do." Then why the silence? Kalin paused, "Because it scares us more." The next test wasn't from science, it was emotional. They sent in a child, a small alien boy who had never seen a human before. He was told to speak, to ask questions, to show kindness. Eva looked at the boy and smiled warmly. She spoke softly for the first time in hours. "Hello, little one." Her voice was calm, gentle. The boy asked, "Are you sad?" Eva nodded. "Sometimes. Why?" Eva looked at the wall. "Because I remember too much." The boy tilted his head. "Are you going to hurt us?" Eva looked down, then back at him. "No," she said, "but something else might." The boy returned unharmed, even smiling. Valrana was more confused than ever. How could someone so powerful be so gentle? That night, the security chief came to Valrana. He looked pale, shaken. "We have a problem," he said. He showed her the camera feed. The video showed Eva in her cell, as usual, but next to her, standing in the same space, was another. Eva, both standing, both breathing, both moving in perfect sync. Then, both turned to look at the camera at the same time. "There's only one body," the chief whispered. "But two shadows." Valrana's mind raced. Was this projection? Cloning? Something new? Or something older? She returned to the observation deck. Eva stood in the middle of the cell. Alone again. One body, one shadow. Valrana spoke into the intercom. "What are you?" she asked. Eva looked up. "Once, I was human," she said. "Now, I am what your kind becomes. If it survives long enough, what do you want from us?" Eva walked to the glass. She placed her palm against it. "To remind you," she whispered, "that time is a hallway, not a wall." Velrana stepped back. Confused and afraid, before she could speak, the power in the room dropped again. The alarms flashed red. A voice came from the control room. "Ma'am, something is approaching the ship in known origin." Velrana looked at Eva one last time. She was sitting again, calm, smiling, as if she already knew. 3 hours after the last test, the alarms stopped. The crew was confused. They were used to sirens, flashing lights, loud warnings. But this time, the ship went completely silent. No buzz of machines, no hum of the engines. Not even the usual whisper of air through the vents, just silence. Velrana rushed to the command bridge. "Status," she shouted. No one answered. The screens were black, the controls frozen. Only one system still worked, the internal surveillance feed from Cell 9. Where the human was, Eva was standing now, her back turned to the camera, arms stretched out, palms facing upward, as if she was feeling something around her, something no one else could see. Velrana stared at the screen. "She's doing this," she said. "Ma'am?" whispered the communication officer. "There's a message coming through, but not from outside." From where then? From the ship. The voice on the speaker wasn't human, wasn't alien either. It was cold, mechanical, but layered with hundreds of echoes. It spoke one line. "She is not your prisoner. She is your warning." Everyone froze. Then the lights flickered on just for a second, before turning blood red. The ship shuddered. As if something inside had woken up, Velrana ran toward the detention level. 2 guards followed, weapons ready. But when they reached the hallway to Cell 9, they stopped. The hallway was gone. Where it once stood, there was only a wall-smooth, seamless metal. No doors, no windows. "She's not there," one guard said. Panicked. "We sealed her in. How is this possible?" Velrana touched the wall. It felt cold, but alive. As if it was breathing. Suddenly, a single line appeared in glowing letters on the wall. "She's still here, just not where you're looking." Velrana took a step back. "She's moving." Without moving, she whispered. "She's bending the ship in the control center." A technician screamed. "She's in the engine room." "What?" Velrana shouted. "That's impossible." Footage appeared on the main screen. Eva was standing in the center of the engine core. She wasn't supposed to be there. No one had seen her leave her cell. But there she was, calm, smiling. Again, she placed her hand on the reactor wall, then looked directly into the camera, and for the first time, her smile faded. "I'm not your enemy," she said, "but I needed you to listen." The lights exploded above the crew. Sparks flew, consoles melted. The ship began to tilt sideways. "Stabilize now," shouted Velrana, but nothing responded. The ship was no longer listening to them. In the engine room, Eva closed her eyes, and then she vanished. Not teleported, not cloaked. She just wasn't there anymore. 10 seconds of silence. Then, every door on the ship opened at once. Cells, labs, storage base, everything that was locked and locked. Creatures roared. Machines escaped. Alarms screamed, but over it all, one sound rose louder. A whisper through every speaker in Eva's voice. The cage was never mine. Velrana ran back to the bridge. All hands, lock down Protocol Delta. Now? But it was too late. Eva had rewritten the code. She wasn't just escaping. She was changing the ship itself. Walls were twisting, corridors reshaping. Crew members were getting lost inside familiar halls. The Calthrin was no longer a warship. It was becoming something else. Tech appeared on the screen, calling from Sector D, Commander. "We're seeing rooms that don't exist, doors leading into empty space, like the ship is folding." Then another message, but this time, not from Eva. "We are coming." No origin, no source. Just those 3 words. Velrana looked at the crew. What does that mean? No one could answer. She turned to her science officer. Track Eva, find her. I can't. The officer replied, trembling. She's everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Velrana stared into the main screen, the stars outside. Looked wrung out of place, as if someone had redrawn the galaxy. She whispered to herself, what is she? And somewhere deep in the ship, in a space no one could reach anymore. Eva stood alone, surrounded by light, energy, and the echoes of something ancient. She closed her eyes again, and the real escape began. The warship Calthrin was no longer a ship. It had turned into a maze. Hallways shifted, doors moved, rooms appeared where nothing had existed. And at the heart of it all was her Eva, the human they could not understand. Commander Velrana walked through a corridor she had passed 100 times, but this time the walls whispered her name. Her breath felt heavy, not because of the air, but because of the pressure, as if the ship itself was remembering things she wanted to forget. Status report, she said through her cum. Only static replied. She wasn't even sure if the cum still worked. She reached the lab chamber. What she saw made her stop cold. Eva was there, not in flesh, but as a child, sitting on the floor. She was drawing pictures with her finger, using only dust and light. Velrana raised her weapon, but the image didn't move. It wasn't real. It was a memory, but not hers. The lights dimmed, the walls around her faded. Suddenly, Velrana was not on the ship anymore. She was standing in a house on a planet she had never seen, and yet it felt familiar. There was a garden, a woman humming softly, a young alien girl chasing butterflies. The girl turned, then it was Velrana, her own childhood. But how? She whispered, because you buried it. Ava's voice came from behind her. Velrana spun around, and there she was, fully grown again, standing in the memory. This isn't yours, Velrana said, voice shaking. Eva smiled gently. No, it's yours. I never told anyone this. Velrana said, stepping back. I never shared this memory, not even with my own mind. I know, Eva said. That's why I had to return it. Velrana's hand trembled. She wasn't holding her weapon anymore. She wasn't wearing armor. She was back in her child clothes, confused and small. I'm not here to hurt you, Eva said, walking through the memory garden. I'm here to open what's been closed. Are you reading minds? Velrana asked. Eva shook her head. No, I'm reading the walls, the metal, the echoes inside you. This ship remembers you, she continued. Every step you ever took, every order you gave, every doubt you buried. Velrana looked down. She was holding a flower she hadn't seen in years. The same one from her mother's garden, her eyes filled with tears. How are you doing this? Eva looked into the sky, though they were inside a fake one. Because your species thinks time is a line, but it's not. It's a circle, a mirror. A story being read by something older than space. The garden faded, the ship returned. Velrana was back in her uniform, back in the lab. But something inside her was now open. Eva stood near the wall, touching it softly. This place is full of memories, she said, not just yours, but of every being who walked here. Pain lives in metal. Velrana raised her weapon again, her hand steady this time. I still don't understand you, she said. Are you human? Eva looked at her and answered carefully. I was once, but humanity is not skin, or language, or blood. It's what happens when minds are set free. Velrana stepped forward. If you're not here to destroy us, then why cause all this chaos? Eva turned around. I didn't cause it, she said. You did by trying to measure what cannot be measured. You tried to trap thought, to cage memory, to dissect what grows in silence. Suddenly, screens on the wall flickered to life. One showed an alien outpost crumbling into the sea. Another showed a child looking at the stars while holding a skull. A third screen showed Valrana herself, asleep in her quarters, dreaming of burning cities. "These are not just visions," Eva said. "They are possibilities, leaking into the present." "You're collapsing reality," Valrana said. Eva nodded. "No, I'm just opening the window." A loud crash echoed through the hallway. The ship groaned, metal bending from within. Tech's voice came through the broken comms. "Commander, we've lost sectors 5, 6, and 9 rooms are disappearing." Eva stepped back, her face calm. "Again, I'll leave soon," she said. "But before I do, I needed you to remember." "Remember what?" Valrana asked. Eva looked into her eyes. "That the mind is not a weapon," she said. "It's a door." Then she disappeared again, like before, not teleported, just gone. As if the ship no longer needed her to stay in one place, Valrana dropped to her knees for the first time in her life. She didn't feel like a commander. She felt like a student. A child in front of something ancient, something watching from behind the stars. And somewhere, far from her reach, Eva stood in a space that did not exist on any map. Her eyes were closed, and through her mind, 1,000 timelines sang. Something had changed in Eva. She no longer moved through the ship. She was the ship. Cameras couldn't track her. Sensors couldn't see her. But her presence was everywhere. Valrana stood on the main bridge, watching the stars drift out of place. The galaxy around them had warped. Navigation was blind. Engines were offline. The ship was floating in a place that didn't exist on any map. "We need answers," Valrana said to the crew. "But first find her." A new message appeared on every screen at once. Not a voice this time, but words, glowing red. "I didn't come to fight. I came to warn you." The crew fell silent. Even the bravest officers were afraid to speak. Valrana clenched her fists. She had battled entire species, crushed rebellions, burned planets, but now her enemy was a whisper. Eva finally appeared again in the old meditation room of the ship. It was once used by alien elders before battles. Now it was broken. Filled with shattered stones and flickering candles, Valrana entered alone. Eva sat cross-legged in the center, eyes closed. The candles around her didn't burn with fire. They glowed with memory. "Speak," Valrana said. "No more riddles, no more games." Eva opened her eyes. "They are coming," she said. "Who?" "Not a species," Eva replied. "Not a fleet, not a god, but something old, something that erases." Valrana didn't blink. "Erase what?" "Meaning," Eva said, her voice calm. "They don't kill planets. They erase the idea of planets. Whole civilizations vanish from memory. Even the stars forget." Valrana stepped closer. "And you're telling me this? Why?" Eva looked up. "Because your species is loud," she said. "You shout across space. Send signals. Light up systems. You have made yourselves visible." Valrana's voice turned cold. "If we're in danger, then help us stop them." "I am," Eva said. "That's why I let you capture me. That's why I stayed." Valrana stared at her. "You wanted to be caught?" Eva nodded. "I needed access to your systems, your knowledge, your history. I needed to teach your ship how to forget." "Forget?" "Yes," Eva whispered, "because that's the only way to survive." Valrana felt the air grow heavier. "Why can't we fight them?" Eva's eyes flickered, one moment blue, one moment black. "Because they don't fight," she said. "They unwrite." The candles dimmed. Suddenly, the walls of the room began to shimmer. Valrana saw images flash through the metal. Worlds she had never visited, languages she had never spoken. And then her own face, but different, older, scarred, standing in places she had never been. "What is this?" she asked. Eva's voice became quieter. "These are the lives you almost lived before the erasers reached them. You've seen them." Valrana asked. Eva looked at her with sadness. I was there once. When the first library of the stars was wiped clean, Valrana didn't speak. She felt it now deep in her bones. This wasn't just a warning, it was a countdown. You said we're too loud, she said. What do we do? Hide, Eva replied. Erase your records, destroy your signals, turn off your lights. Make your people forget what they've discovered. Valrana shook her head. That's madness. We are explorers, warriors, thinkers. We. Don't hide, Eva stood. Then you will be the next silence. Valrana stared at her. You want me to abandon everything? No, Eva said softly. I want you to survive. In that moment, the ship trembled. An alert flashed across the walls. Unidentified anomaly, approaching at impossible speed. Valrana looked at the screen. There was no object, no shape. Just darkness like space had been cut. Is that them? She asked. Eva didn't answer. She turned toward the screen. Her voice was low, but clear. I've delayed them for as long as I could. Valrana stepped beside her. How long? Do we have? Eva didn't look back, enough for one choice. Then she reached forward and touched the control panel. A deep vibration moved through the ship. The stars began to blur. They weren't moving, reality was bending. What are you doing? Valrana shouted. Eva turned to her. I'm rewriting your place in the universe, she said. So they can't find you unless you call them back. Back. Yes, Eva said. They were here once before, and it was a human who led them. Asterisk, the ship floated in nothing. Not space, not time, just silence. Even the stars had gone dark. Valrana stood at the edge of the command deck, watching the black screen. Behind her, Eva sat on the floor. Eyes closed, she hadn't spoken in minutes. Not since she said the thing that haunted everyone now. They were here once before, and it was a human who led them. Valrana had questions, too many, but the answers scared her more than the silence. Explain. She said quietly. Eva opened her eyes, and for the first time, they weren't hers. They were glowing gold, like light trapped inside liquid. You think humans are young? Eva said, small, loud, primitive. Valrana nodded slowly. They are. Eva tilted her head. Not always. There was a long pause. Then a screen turned on, not one controlled by the ship, but one Eva had touched. An old video played. Flickering, blurry, it showed a group of creatures tall, thin, with glowing suits. They stood around a woman. Human, her face was calm, like Eva's. She was the first, Eva said. She opened the door that should have stayed shut. The woman on the screen raised her hand, and the creatures fell silent. Then they collapsed into shadows, as if they had never been real. Valrana felt a chill in her chest. Who was she? My predecessor, Eva replied. She found a way to speak to the void, and the void listened. You're saying she created those things? No, Eva said. She woke them. They were always there, sleeping in the empty spaces between thought and time. Valrana backed away from the screen. And you are her. Eva shook her head. I am what was made to stop her. That answer didn't make sense. Or maybe it didn't. That was worse. You're a weapon, Valrana asked. I am a memory, Eva said, designed by humans who knew. What she had done, she stood up. Slowly, I was born across centuries, rebuilt through knowledge. Regret and hope. I carry pieces of lost civilizations, both alien and human. The lights in the room dimmed. A symbol began to appear on the floor, an ancient circle with 8 intersecting lines. Valrana had seen it once before, on a destroyed moon, buried under a ruined temple. You know. This, Eva said. Yes, Valrana whispered. It was the mark on the walls. Before the planet turned to glass, that was the first time they came, Eva said. And the last time humans tried to fight alone. Suddenly, the ship shook again, but not from outside force. It was internal. Doors began to open and shut. Randomly, crew members screamed over the comms. Reality was bending again. Eva placed her hand on the floor, and the shaking stopped. The ship grew still. Like a beast calming under a familiar touch I can hold. "Them back," she said. "But not forever." Valrana stared at her. "What do you want from us?" "Not your weapons," Eva replied. "Not your armies. I need your belief." Valrana narrowed her eyes. "In what?" Eva looked around. "In yourselves." "You're telling me," Valrana said slowly, "that all of this, the tests, the visions, the chaos, was for that?" "Yes," Eva said, "because belief shapes reality, it shapes memory. And memory is the only thing the erasers can't fully kill." The truth settled into Valrana like cold air. All their science, all their machines, and none of it could stop what was coming, but a single idea, a belief, might survive. If it was strong enough, Eva took a deep breath. "They've already erased dozens of worlds," she said. But those who remembered, truly remembered, brought pieces back. Valrana frowned. "Brought back what?" "Language," Eva said. "Stone, even light." Outside, the stars flickered again. Not in danger, but like something returning. Valrana turned to the crew. "All hands," she said. "Prepare memory cores for manual backup. Every name, every song, every image, we store it all." The crew didn't understand, but they obeyed. And Eva smiled again. This time, it wasn't the unsettling smile. It was something else, relief. She turned back to Valrana. "If we succeed, there will be a cost," she said. "You'll forget me." Valrana blinked. "What?" "I was built to be temporary," Eva said softly. "I am a story that must end for others to begin." She reached forward and handed Valrana a small crystal. "Keep this," she said, "when the sky cracks again. Show it to a human." Valrana looked at the crystal. It glowed faintly, like a heartbeat. She looked up, but Eva was already gone. The ship no longer knew what it was. Its walls pulsed like skin. Its lights blinked like eyes. It drifted through a corner of the universe that shouldn't exist, a place outside of coordinates, out of time, out of memory. Valrana stood on the silent bridge, alone. The crew was gone, not dead, not vanished, just forgotten. She could still feel them in the metal, like fingerprints in soft clay. She looked down at her hand. The crystal Eva had given her still glowed, a small, steady pulse like a second heart. A voice echoed through the empty air. "But it wasn't Eva. It wasn't anyone. You have one choice left." It came from everywhere and nowhere. Valrana turned in place. The screens no longer showed stars. Only eyes, dozens of them, blinking slowly, made of shadow and memory. "Choose." The voice said again, "Forget and survive, or remember and be erased." She clenched her jaw. Her memories flooded her mind. The wars, the planets, the people who cheered when she spoke their names. But one face shone brightest, Eva's. She walked to the center of the bridge. "Why does it have to be one or the other?" She shouted, "I don't want to forget. Then you will vanish." The voice whispered, like dust in the void. Valrana laughed, not because she wasn't afraid, but because she was, deeply, and still stood anyway. "You made one mistake," she said. I believed her. The crystal pulsed faster in her hand. It grew warm, then bright. Light poured from it like liquid memory. And in that light Tiva appeared, not solid, not ghost, something in between. "Good," Eva said softly. "You remembered." Valrana stepped toward her. "Tell me how to stop them." "You already did," Eva replied. "The moment you chose to remember, the ship began to crack. Not physically, but conceptually. Reality bent, reshaped, reformed. The black space around them shifted like paper burning in reverse. Words returned to stars. Names returned to maps. Songs echoed in vacuum, and color poured into the void like spilled paint. Valrana dropped to one knee, the pressure in her head. Unbearable. Too much memory, too much truth. Eva knelt beside her. "This is the cost," she said. "You will save your people, your galaxy, your story. But you will no longer be in it." Valrana looked at her hands, already fading. "At the edges, like sand and wind, I'm being erased." She asked. Eva shook her head. "No," she whispered. "You're becoming a part of the memory itself." Valrana laughed again. It felt strange. Like someone else laughing through her mouth. "I hope someone writes a story about me." She said. Eva smiled. "They will, and one day, a child will read it. And when the sky cracks again, they will know not to be afraid." The last thing Valrana saw was the bridge returning to its original shape, screens, lighting. Up with stars again, the names of her crew appearing. One by one, their lives restored. Then silence, somewhere on a distant planet, centuries later. A human child found a small glowing crystal inside a broken probe. When she touched it, she saw a woman with silver skin and fire in her eyes. The woman smiled and said, "If she smiles, it's already too late." The child didn't understand, but she remembered, and that was enough.